Baltimore City Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake is scheduled to make a last-minute plea in Annapolis for bills addressing police brutality complaints. The mayor held a press conference to discuss her next steps to increase transparency and accountability in policing.
Swoop, I'm Jamie Costello, and dozens joined together on street corners in West Baltimore tonight, pleading for an end to rampant citywide violence.
I have all grandsons. I have 6 grandboys, and I fear for their life all the time.
From her West Baltimore home, Linda Herbert says she's seen it all.
Witnessed my nephew get killed in the project, so it's real dangerous around here. Terrible.
17-year-old Nathan Thomas says he's seen just as much.
I've seen my friends shot at, everything, robbed, stabbed, anything.
The event is being held for the 3rd year in a row. It comes at a time when the Baltimore City Police Department is being heavily scrutinized by many in the black community.
A call for answers. For the 2nd day in a row, protesters flood the streets of Baltimore, calling for clarity in an arrest that has turned deadly. Freddie Gray, a young man arrested by Baltimore City Police last weekend, has died. Vanessa.
Well, Kai, the family's attorney says he has no confidence that the Baltimore City Police Department will conduct a fair investigation. Right now, police say there's no evidence that an altercation led to Freddie Gray's injuries.
We're not going to walk away. We're not going to stand aside. I brought my son here because he won't let us. We've got to stand up for what we believe in. We've got to stand up for our children. He was drug out and he was beaten, and this is the type of thing that continues to happen.
Gray was critically injured after his arrest on April 12th. The family's attorney says Gray's spine was 80% severed. Cell phone videos show pieces of Gray's arrest. Police say they caught him after a chase, and officers called for a van at 8:42 a.m.
The officers believed that Mr. Gray was either immediately involved or had been recently involved in criminal activity. I could say with certainty that we have no physical, video, or any other evidence of an altercation that would have resulted in this.
Deputy Police Commissioner Jerry Rodriguez says an investigation is underway to determine if the officers involved are criminally responsible for Freddie Gray's death.
Well, protesters want answers, so they took their frustrations to the streets earlier today. They want the 6 officers involved with the arrest of Freddie Gray held accountable.
The beating of drums demanding more information about the April 12th arrest of Freddie Gray are growing louder. Baltimore City Councilman Nick Mosby is joining the chorus. This video showing Gray being taken into custody has been seen thousands of times, but Mosby knows there's more.
We have cameras here, and I think folks want to see the tape.
At least 2 cameras can be seen in the area where Gray was arrested. He says he's faithful a police investigation will be handled correctly.
Now, I'm not going to rest until we have a positive outcome associated with folks understanding and knowing exactly what took place.
Tell the truth and stop the lies. Freddie Gray didn't have to die.
Dozens of protesters gathered in front of City Hall Monday holding signs reading "No Justice, No Peace" and "Black Lives Matter."
Indict, convict, send these poor cops to jail.
They're demanding action from city leaders after the death of 25-year-old Freddie Gray.
It's all about locking people up. If people wrong, I'm not against people getting locked up. The bad guys need to get locked up so our children and other people won't get hurt. But when you just pick up somebody and you don't know what you're going to charge them with, if they're not going to get charged, don't just ride them around and threaten them and try to intimidate them. Because every time, and most times when that happens, somebody gets hurt.
The race, the color don't matter. Now, I got a criminal record, but if I'm walking down the street minding my business and the police kill me, do that have anything to do with it?
Completely irrelevant.
It don't have nothing to do with it. So his criminal background don't have nothing to do with him being a human being. We supposed to walk down the street safe, but it ain't safe. When I was growing up, kids loved the police. Now, you don't know what to do with them.
We're calling for these cops to be charged. We're calling for them to be criminalized.
Reverend C.D. Witherspoon with Baltimore's Southern Christian Leadership Conference expressed frustration over what he says is a lack of accountability within the Baltimore City Police Department.
But we're sick and tired of being sick and tired of that uniform safeguarding people from the same justice that all of us have to endure. We're calling for these officers to be fired. We're calling for them to be charged with first-degree murder, and we're calling for them to be charged with first-degree murder now. Tell the truth and stop the lies. All black men don't have to die.
A sad situation that many say has been going on for years in Baltimore, alleged police abuse that must come to an end.
we got to stop this killing first. We got to stop this killing. First of all, we got to come together as one.
Well, Santa Donna, there were about 75 protesters, and I would describe it as peaceful but certainly emotional.
1, 2, 3. Black Lives Matter. 1, 2, 3. Black Lives Matter. 1, 2, 3.
They gathered not far from where Freddie Gray was picked up last weekend. And then they marched.
Justice! Our sisters! And our brothers! And we're marching! We're marching! To justice! To justice! For our sisters! For our sisters! And our brothers! And we're marching! We're marching! To justice! To justice! For our sisters! For our sisters!
Protesters marched a short distance from Baker and Mount Streets to the Western District Police headquarters, and the crowd got bigger, louder, and more passionate along the way.
Whose streets? Our streets! Whose city? Our street! Whose street? Our street! Whose city?
No justice! No peace! We don't need you on our streets! No peace! No peace!
We want to see justice for the people who've been killed by police.
It's not acceptable to keep doing this. It's no reason for, it's no justification for some of the things that's being done. So if nobody's going to do something as a community, we're going to have to stick together or we're going to keep getting ran over.
Officers stood behind yellow caution tape as the crowd chanted. The anger is clear.
The mayor should be up here. She should be up here. This is her city. She should be up here, up on them steps, giving us answers.
We want them locked up and prosecuted. We want them behind bars. We want justice for Freddie Gray. And we're going to get it. Every day we will come down here, every day till we get it.
Came out this and talk about some badge. We don't give a about that.
He says he's Freddie's brother.
How do you take a man, put him in handcuffs, and then feel as though you want to hurt him then? How do they even...
As a human being, I don't even do that to my dog. I wouldn't even do that to my fish. I wouldn't just take him out the tank and just look at him suffer. But you're going to put some handcuffs on this man, and then y'all going to hurt him. It's not about answers. Answers is the police being charged and owning up for what they did.
Hours before the rally, both the mayor and police commissioner urged peaceful demonstrations.
As we move forward, I continue to encourage those residents who wish to voice their frustrations to remain peaceful.
At Western District Headquarters, police officer Melvin Russell communicated directly with protesters.
I will let you vent on me, that's fine. I will let you vent on me.
No, I'm listening.
No, you're not. No, you're not, because when I was talking, you interrupted.
A vigil for Freddie is planned for 5 o'clock tomorrow night at Mount and Presbury Streets.
I understand it because I'm frustrated. I'm angry that we are here again, that we have had to tell another mother that their child is dead.
Flanked by Police Commissioner Anthony Batts and Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake, Deputy Commissioner Jerry Rodriguez gave some more detail on the timeline of the morning of April 12th. 8:39 a.m., officers encounter Freddie Gray. He runs away.
Police wrote in a charging document, Gray fled unprovoked upon noting police presence in the neighborhood.
A minute later, he's caught.
The officer then noticed a knife clipped to the inside of his pants pocket, the document says. Gray was arrested without force or incident.
2 minutes later, the police van arrives, and police say Gray asks for an inhaler. 8:46, the van makes the first stop. Police say the driver says Gray is acting up and he's put in leg irons. At 8:54, the van heads to central booking. 5 minutes passes, and the driver of the van requests another unit to do a condition check of Gray. The van then moves on to pick up a suspect for an unrelated arrest.
Friday, a witness who did not want to be identified told us she watched how police handled Gray when the van carrying him stopped at a second location, so leg irons could be applied.
They threw him in the paddy wagon face first, face down. And mind you, his arms and his legs are locked up head first. He was laying on his stomach when they threw him. He was still on his stomach position, on his stomach. And just threw him in the paddy wagon. It was like 4 police.
Mr. Gray was the only one on that side of the van, and it wasn't until the very end that another suspect was placed in the van, who we have interviewed. But that suspect was on the other side of a metal barrier with no contact with Mr. Gray. He could hear Mr. Gray, but he could not see him.
Police now confirm the van went on to pick up another suspect. At that stop, sources say Gray was unresponsive, but no medic was called.
25 minutes later, the van gets to the Western Police District and a medic is called.
Department policy requires police to ensure the safety of the detainee in custody and ensure medical treatment for a detainee is obtained when necessary or requested.
It was noticed that he was having a little trouble breathing, where we should have probably asked for paramedics or had him look at that time.
Police say the preliminary autopsy findings in the case of 25-year-old Freddie Gray, his cause of death was a severe spinal cord injury, but there was no other injury to his body. Freddie Gray died Sunday morning at shock trauma, a week after his arrest on a West Baltimore street. Experts tell us the type of very severe spinal cord injury that Freddie Gray suffered could be caused by severe whiplash, by being sudden motion, by sudden movement forward, or by striking one's chin on something so severely and with such force that your head would snap back.
There is no video of these stops.
Police say they've interviewed all of the officers involved.
None of the officers describe using any force against Mr. Gray.
Well, under the officers' Bill of Rights, the officers don't have to cooperate with the investigation. They can take the Fifth Amendment. And they shed no light on whether or not that's what they did.
New questions also arose about the initial police encounter with Gray when he ran off.
They believed that Mr. Gray had either just committed or was committing a crime, and that's why he ran.
Just running, there is no law against running.
We know that having a knife is not necessarily a crime. It is not necessarily probable cause to chase someone.
Right now, 6 police officers are suspended with pay. That includes the initial 3 officers on the bike, the driver of the transport van, and 2 other officers.
Now, the police commissioner said that he wants to see the city police investigation of this incident wrapped up by next Friday. That's May 1st. There's been a lot of complaints from the community about city police investigating themselves. That is the standard procedure in cases like this. They do that anytime city police injure or kill someone in an altercation. In this particular case, the commissioner said that city police findings will be turned over to the state's attorney, who will then determine how to move forward. And the commissioner said that he will also have an outside panel of experts review what has happened in this case. I can also tell you, though, that in other cases, 2 other cases, the Anthony Anderson case from a couple years ago and the Tyrone West case from 2013, outside review panels were also called in on those cases. And in those cases, the outside panel also found that there was no fault on the part of the police officers that were involved in those cases.
And while police have promised transparency about what happened to Freddie Gray last Sunday, Murphy says they were anything but transparent.
Where was the information about what happened during the stops? Where was the statement of the driver of the police vehicle? Did the police take the Fifth Amendment instead of cooperating with the investigation? Did they change their minds subsequent to asserting the Fifth and make statements? Where are all of those statements? We don't know.